We'll make you laugh uncomfortably.
Okay.
Are we live now?
Yes, we are.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Lee. This is Mark. This is Alex.
My hand
Oh
is
no, it's your
sworn.
stream, not mine.
Yeah,
hand
it's,
is
it's
sworn
me that's
down.
speaking. So yes, hi everyone to our live show, Path of Indie from Saturated Outer Space game. Today we have our guest Mark Parker as a game producer at Mutant Year Zero, and Lee Varley as a game director, also as a Mutant Year Zero. So I think actually the first questions, or not actually the questions, I think you should like tell about yourself for people who are gonna watch us.
Okay, Lee, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm the game director over at Bearded Ladies. I was the game director on Mutant Year Zero and of Corruption and of our next secret project. And before that, I was the lead designer for IO Interactive on the Hitman titles for 8-9 years, something like that. And before that, I was just a normal designer stroke QA over at Team 17 in the UK for 7-8 years as well. So in total, I've been building games for
20
years.
Yeah, I
Around
looked it
that,
up the other day.
About 20 years. I'm the director of the Bearded Ladies, but my main discipline that I come from is game design and level design. So that's my speciality, you could say.
And I'm Mark Parker. I'm the producer at the Bearded Ladies. I was also the writer, even though I put a pseudonym for Corruption. I wrote all of Corruption. I was one of the co-writers on Mutant and the producer of Mutant. And also I worked with Lee back at IO. I was an associate producer there for quite a long time. I worked at IO for 9 years. And before that, I worked at IDOS in the UK on some of the later Tomb Raider games, etc. And before that, yeah, I was working in the industry. So I worked a little bit less than Lee, which Lee likes to remind me about. About 17 years, I think. So
You young whippersnapper.
yeah, I still got a lot to learn. A bit green behind the ears.
So now we have introduced you to the people who are gonna watch, both for like Russian community and I think international know about you. Like only the picture about yourself, you show everything, how good guys you are.
How gormless I can look, you know.
Yeah.
So
I think we were super tired when that picture got took.
I was for Reddit a few years ago.
I think we could actually start with the easy part, with the questions, and the questions about like your new game or the Mutant Year Zero 2 we're gonna save for later. So
I've got it running behind this monitor here running on, but I can't turn off the background. I think there's a bug with this Skype stuff. It's crappy Skype. So yeah, I'm sorry.
So you have like the whole new game behind you and you can show it. Okay.
Just running on like a loop. I could be lying.
Has it crashed yet?
I think we could start now with short questions like how to understand that the story in your game is not too much or not too little. Like so you know when it's like perfect in the middle, that you have created something that is not people getting bored to play the game, or just they're like, okay, is this the end like already, like come on.
Yeah, this is literally a question we don't answer because it's impossible to know that. What you need to do is, first of all, stories in games are really, really difficult because when you're watching a movie or reading a book, you've got this very passive experience going on. You can get, your brain is completely focused on the characters, the story and the character arcs and how things are connected, and you can get quite a lot of complexity in there. But in a game, your attention is kind of split. You've got your story on your characters, but you've also got lots of game mechanics and systems and stuff like that to learn and also take up your brain space. So if a story is too long or not, it's I don't think a story is the only thing that dictates game length, but your mechanics need to as well. It's like, how long can your mechanics go on for before they get boring?
Yeah.
I think that's the key here. It's like we've all played games where they've been trying to tell this really epic story, but mechanically it's quite simple. So you're just doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again for 8 hours, and you just end up with this extremely boring experience. So for me, it's more important to make sure that how long can your mechanics go on for before they get boring, and what new things can you inject in that mechanic set to keep it fresh as you progress through.
Yeah.
And then design your story to fit that.
I think also because we're making a game, it's an interactive experience. Having things that you can do in the world, things that you can piece together your own parts of the story a little bit too, like notes or environmental storytelling, little things that the player starts to build a picture. The world building's really big part, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, and honestly, me personally, don't try to hit a specific game length. I've made that mistake in the past. Don't do that. Just concentrate on making a super fun game where the hour by hour experience feels fresh and interesting to the player. And when it stops feeling fresh and interesting, when it starts getting stale, that's where your game needs to end, and that's where the story needs to end.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And it's super difficult to do. I mean, where we learn this as well in our studio, where we get the game up and running, we build the feature set, we build the quests and all this stuff, but the narrative is constantly in flux. It's constantly changing to support whatever's going on the gameplay layer, so to speak. So
Okay, but you speak about the game mechanics.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
If we take a game like Minecraft,
Yeah.
they have a simple game mechanics. I think everyone know that, and it's kind of
Yes.
infinity game. Okay, at least like you not kill the Ender Dragon, fine, but you still can like explore the world, because if I remember correctly, the map of Minecraft is almost like endless. Like
Yeah. Or you can generate anything really.
Yeah.
And they rely on a lot of user created content as well to
Yeah,
extend.
you
on
make
it.
your own story in Minecraft. You make your own character. You know, it's a blank canvas for you to do that, and I think those kind of games, it works quite well. And you know, I guess
Minecraft to me is it's something else. It's not a narrative based game. It's a toy box.
Yeah, sandbox.
It's the digital equivalent of a Lego set, where you've got infinite. Where the experience that you're giving players isn't so much about them experiencing a adventure or experiencing this this story that you're going on, and you have a set of mechanics to go along with it. It's more about the experience of what can you create, what fun can you build.
Yeah, that's
It's
correct.
completely different type of things, I would say. I like to call these toy box games because they're a bit like my children's toy box, where they go in there and they can have fun all day long just with a couple of toy cars and a brick. You know.
yeah, imagination is the main part you know, that you're using.
Yeah.
Well, imagination is the thing that both of you used to create the game. How it like done well today. I mean, like
Yes, of course.
without it.
But I mean, I would pose a question: if you were to take Minecraft's mechanics and try to put a linear story on that,
Yeah.
how long could that game be?
Actually, there is a game like that. It's Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah, kind of. It's Minecraft Dungeons is. I've played a bit of that one, and it's not really Minecraft as such. You don't have the toy box aspect going on. It's more of a
Design side.
It's more of a light action RPG, I would say. Very light.
Okay.
It's quite good. I've been enjoying it.
Then actually, a question for both of you, because you both worked on a Hitman in the IO Interactive studio. What could you tell the people like from such a studio that I think almost everyone know the Hitman in the world? What did you bring, or how does your experience affected the Mutant Year Zero?
I can start if you want, Mark, or do you want?
Yes, I think you.
Okay.
You can. Yeah.
The biggest thing you learn when working for a company like IO, and this sounds really silly, but it's true, is how to produce games. No, it sounds crazy, but and that's the thing that was brought to our studio from IO is how do you actually produce a game title? And because we could all sit down and come up with game mechanics and stories and characters and stuff, but how do you pull together a team of 20 plus people? How do you plan what gets done in what order? How do you make sure that you're on track or not? How do you write the story to go with this thing? And how do you handle the story writing? Do you just write it at the start and then roll with it? Or so for me, working at IO, one of the biggest things I learned was the whole production process. Like how is one of these games actually produced? And how does everybody on the team fit into that puzzle? And in what order are things done in? And when do you cut stuff, and when do you just have to say that's good enough? Or for me,
yeah, I totally agree, and I think our time at IO was great. We really enjoyed it, and we learned a lot while we were there, and we got to experience a lot of cool parts. I mean, right now, still, we're currently very good friends of IO, and we even use their mocap studio. We used it for Mutant and also Corruption, and we're going to use it for our, or we already have for our game that's in development now. So yeah, I think what we took from IO was that experience, and we also knew that the people at IO as a group had come across a lot of problems even before our time, and found good ways to solve them. And taking those learnings with us to the smaller studio was really good. I mean, definitely we have stealth elements in Mutant. Is it inspired by Hitman? It's not as deep as Hitman, but your knowledge of stealth mechanics, Lee, definitely helped, didn't it?
Oh yeah, because there's a lot of stuff that you can just dismiss straight away because you know that it won't work because you've tried it on your Hitman days.
So you mean the thing with the circle when you like sitting down and you go? The thing when like if you stay away from the circle, it doesn't go closer to you, and as closer you go to the enemy, like the circle it draws to you. Was this something implemented from like your experience in Hitman?
A little bit. This was more about how to give you that lump in the throat feeling when you're sneaking around. So for me with stealth, if you make it completely binary, like in those sort of communication systems, it gets really boring. So there's got to be a little bit of fuzziness. Will they see me? Won't they see you? Won't they see me? But you've got to make that very forgiving as well, because you want to give players that moment of, oh, I almost got spotted.
Yeah.
That feeling is actually extremely difficult to engineer from a design perspective, because if you just make it super binary, so the circle is static and never moves, then you're never going to get that feeling of I almost got spotted. But if you can make it a bit fuzzy and make it move around a little bit, then those moments start to come through. Start to happen.
There's some great moments like that in Mutant. I mean, even on the first stage, you're walking past these two guys near the river, these two ghouls, and the attention circle, we've designed it so it just touches your characters and gives you like a little hint of danger.
Actually, you probably remember the level in the Mutant. I think it's like in the end of the game when you travel to the city, and you have those mecha robots like everywhere, and there's like one who's like very big, and someone of you placed a box like in the middle of all enemies. I think I resaved my game like 50 times before I could pick up that box.
That was me. Yeah.
I mean, like
it's called teasing the player. We got to tease you sometimes. It's like I did it at the start as well, where I put some very high level enemies next to a chest.
Yeah, I remember those.
There's so many people that were making videos where they could try and like get there like really early in the game. There's like, we've got this guide how to get the chest. It's so funny that we did that, and it makes people write guides about it and stuff like that, you know.
Because
teasing.
I mean, like you did a good job with that. Like, come on, like I got like 50 resaved because before I could pick it up.
We'll make a task to get that in the next game, whatever we're doing. We'll make those little annoying things that make you resave, Alex.
Okay. Thanks for that. Okay, but you've been how long have you been working in the Mutant, like in overall?
I can't remember.
2 or 2 or 3 years.
2 years? I think it was 2 years.
Even with
And
like 2 years of the developing, how didn't you like lose the burning wheel to create the game after the fails you probably had while creating Mutant?
I think that's something that comes from experience. I've worked on a lot of games over the years, and some of them successful, some of them not successful. But the one thing they all have in common is that there's no such thing as smooth development. It doesn't. It doesn't exist, and you just got to learn to embrace the chaos a little bit, and learn how to ride the chaos
and be pragmatic.
And be pragmatic, yeah. And just for me, it's like every single day we have in the studio, there's some sort of disaster going on somewhere, in some group somewhere, in the art team or animation or code, or there's always some fire somewhere. There's never a quiet day.
About fire.
There's a fire in the office, for example.
And I always look at these kind of fires as if it's a big design problem, or if it's some art that's not working or something like that, I always look at it as an opportunity of what can we get out of this? Because I love it when we're building games and issues get flagged and things get, usually when the team flagged as problems or this doesn't work or all the design of it sucks. I really, really, really like that because it means we can fix it. I don't want to find that out in the Eurogamer's review after we've shipped.
No, that's a little bit too late. It's really important that the team plays the game and discusses the game. We have quite a flat structure in the Bearded Ladies where all ideas and critiques are listened to and taken seriously. I mean, if I have an idea to put in a vehicle, let's make a patch in Mutant and we have a vehicle you can drive around, they'll tell me to get lost. But in all seriousness, this is the way we improve the game. We cannot be like blinkered and in our own little corners. We've got to look at the game as a whole and discuss it. And sometimes some people, they're a little bit biased because they've been working on the same thing for a while and they haven't looked around and they don't necessarily know that there's stuff that needs to improve.
But okay, you're telling like that you listening to the people in the company, that you take some ideas in, take some ideas out. But if we took like company, maybe Bethesda, for example, they don't have so much freedom to make stuff, as I know, like because they have like a script in the game with the story that you're gonna do. How much like free space did you have while creating the game?
A lot.
So there was like a place for good imagination that you could think, okay, let's try this thing or let's discuss this thing.
A lot. I mean, I like to build a culture of the best idea must always win, and the best solution must always win. It doesn't matter where it comes from. It's completely irrelevant what your job discipline is or what your level in the company is. If you've got a good idea to fix something or you've got a good idea to do something, then we need to talk about that.
Exactly.
And you need to have that as ingrained in your company culture, that kind of attitude.
Okay.
I mean, some companies are running like a very, very, very tightly. I mean, we have planning. We do have a grand plan that we follow, but we also like to make sure people have ownership, and it's very important that people get to make their mark on the game and put their ideas into the game where possible. Because then they will love the experience of working on the game, and it'll show in the end product that this is a game made with love rather than a ticking off of a list.
Ownership is super important. If you want people to be passionate about what they're doing, for me as a director, it's important that I don't interfere too much, and certainly don't micromanage people. It's like our cutscene team. I barely even know what they're doing half the time. They're doing good stuff, but I don't interfere. If I'm getting involved in something, it's usually because it's either going wrong or already gone wrong in some capacity.
We need to do that. I mean, because we're not a huge team, and we need to keep things moving fast. We actually get stuff done. In the bigger companies, as much as they can do amazing like AAA and whatnot, their ability to change direction, their ability to adapt to things is very slow. They're a big oil tanker in the sea, and we're more of like a fishing trawler. We can sort of turn around a bit quicker. They take ages to make decisions. I've been in meetings before at IO where we talked about, you know, the size of windowsills. We had like 2 or 3 meetings where we talked about Hitman's arm's not long enough for the Paris windowsills in the Hitman season 1, 2016 season 1.
Okay.
And these big decisions require quite a lot of decision makers. And in our company, we try and make sure the decision makers are very close to the actual task at hand.
Yeah, it's much easier in a small team to make these things happen. Because there's also, you know, you've also got to be very aware of you've got production realities as well. I mean, you do have a budget and you do have a schedule to keep. And for me, I like to cut stuff all the time. If someone has a great idea for something, and it's like, holy shit, this is way better than what I came up with, we should do this instead, I will just go off and cut some stuff from the game to make room for it.
we cut quite often. It's very
aggressive with it.
We try not to waste work, and actually generally when we cut stuff, it gets put in the freezer and it could come out in a new game or in DLC or whatnot. It's never like totally thrown away, but we put it in the freezer. But we are very happy to cut. We don't want to cut quality. We want to cut scope if that comes to it. If the team is coming to us and say, well, we've got to do 5 things and we've only got time to do 4 of them, then Lee, as the game director, will pick the weakest thing and we'll agree it with the team, and then we'll cut it.
Yeah, so how do you keep that burning passion? Going back to the original question,
I
would say you got to have it in the first place. And how do you keep it? Well, to keep it, that requires that you have to do a deal with the game development devil, which is game development is extremely difficult, and you're probably going to fail 1,000 times before you get to the finish line on any game production. And you've got to be okay with that.
So it's a kind of agreement with the devil.
Yeah, the game development devil. You got to do a deal that, you know, you're going to throw a lot of shit my way, and I'm just going to have to live with it because this is how it is.
Okay.
You're going to fail a lot before you win, before you succeed.
It's not easy making games. If it was, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah, that's true. I can relate with that.
And it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. It absolutely is. That's the other thing to remember.
Especially
if you want to keep your passion, you got to remember that failing is just simply about. I see failure as just an iteration. When we fail with a feature, we've actually just iterated and we've just discovered something. We've learned something.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like a science experiment. It's science making games. It's science and art combined, right? There's a lot of experimentation, and sometimes, you know, the mutant thing comes out of the cocoon. It's like, that's not what I want. You have to burn it and throw it into the fire, right?
But I think like every game studio before the release or the time you're working on it probably have some big problems or crunches and stuff like that. What did you encounter while doing the game? Like the biggest? Yeah, I can't swear on YouTube, so.
I think I swore already. You'll have to beep it out when you re-release this.
Especially talking about crunch. I hate crunch. I think it's a cancer in the game industry that needs to go away. And in the beta ladies, we have crunched in the past. On Mutant, we crunched, especially around E3 and stuff like that, when you got to supply a demo for press events.
Don't tell me about those days. Yeah,
awful days. But you know, we've all grown up now. We're not kids anymore. I mean, I have a family of my own, and Mark has his arcade machines.
Yeah, they're my kids.
His kids. And you know, we need to mature and not do this anymore. To do that, I mean, we just need to be making more focused games, be cutting stuff, be constantly looking at your production schedule and making sure that things are on track, and accepting that to get over the finish line shouldn't require crunch. And if it does, it just means something badly wrong has happened somewhere.
A lot of game studios plan with crunch. And that's a really bad way of looking at it. A lot of studios don't plan with crunch, and then they still crunch anyway. In Mutant, one of the things we had problems with, actually, and to be honest, it was self-crunch. So we tended not to say, you know, don't come in at weekends, don't work late and stuff. But some of the team, they wanted to do a really good job, and they wanted to impress the rest of the team, and then they would self-crunch. And I've encountered this before in other studios, talking with other people. It's not necessarily the management that sets the crunch, it's the team. But they have to also understand that there's a two-way road here, that they need to raise a flag and say, hey, I'm working a little bit late every night. Then we need to look at the scope.
Okay.
Yeah. By all means, have a lot of passion for what you do. And we do. We have a lot of passion for what we make. But don't destroy your health getting there. It's just games. It's just games we're making. It's not worth it.
But did you have some like the days or nights when you like really stayed up late because you're like, I need to think something good to make in this game or stuff like that? Or maybe you stayed the whole team late night and like, okay, we do some brainstorming Friday night.
No, we don't ever do that. I mean, around press events, we had some situations where we just couldn't get the build stable. And poor Mark was on the plane flying to E3 with no build. I was talking to hundreds of people, and we were in the office until 4 in the morning or whatever, trying to get this build stable. Then the build machine died, and then we had to put a new graphics card in it. And then
I built the build machine, of course.
It was pure, it was pure hell. But that wasn't about being creative. That was more about trying to make sure we fulfill our obligations externally, with press waiting and stuff.
That was a real nightmare. That was.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some situation that someone forget tickets or someone like didn't get to the plane, Mark?
No, there wasn't anything like that. But when Lee was talking about, what he was talking about was when I was at E3. We were in the hotel, me and Hallie, who's our boss, and we were in the hotel, and there's American internet is well known for being a bit sketchy at best. And there was a nice download speed, and it was about 10 minutes before the Uber picked us up and took us to the E3 show. And then the connection speed went to 0. And I'm like, damn it. And I was like kicking stuff around, and I was like, this is really annoying. And then when we got to the venue, I put the code onto the machines. We had like a set of PCs for the press to come and play, like groups of like 8 press every time. And it was like 20 minutes or 30 minutes before the press arrived. And then the game just crashed every time on all the machines. And I'm thinking to myself, what are we going to do? Right? Can I get a helicopter? Can I just try and blend into the crowd and pretend I'm not anything to do with this? I'm just going to jump ship. Screw it. And it turned out that the machines that we got, I won't mention which company they came from, but the machines that we got, they weren't updated to the latest graphics card drivers. So then I had to tether it to we had like a marketing lady with us. I had to tether it, like my mobile, to her laptop, and eventually we got the drivers, put it on, and it works. And about 2 minutes later, these press will burst through the door, and I'm like, oh, almost passing out.
At least we can laugh about it now, Mark. You know.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny at the time though, but
I was genuinely hide somewhere, hide under a table or something.
But right now we minimize crunch as much as possible because it's not healthy.
Well, it's not healthy, but you can't like be 100% sure that they will not come in the future, because something can be screwed up, and then there will be crunch.
We need to just be aware. We need to keep an eye on people. Actually, what I do, I'm a bit of a sneaky person. I look, because we have Perforce, we have our subnets. What? Yeah, exactly. We learn. Actually, working on Hitman makes you look around the world and you see like, hey, that construction site looks really dangerous. That's a great accident. You're looking at everything like with a murderer's eyes. No, but what I do is I look at the submits on the build. Now I see someone submitting stuff in the middle of the night. I'll like say, hey, what were you doing at like midnight faffing around? Oh, I couldn't sleep, the kids kept me up or whatever. And then it's like, okay, but I'll keep an eye on it, and then we will talk about it, because we want to keep our team happy and healthy. We want, because they do the best job. It's proven that if you crunch the team, that the work output is never as good as a happy team.
Yeah, I have these talks with Hallie, our CEO, where he puts it really perfectly in that we're in this for the long haul. So short-term gains are not really worth sacrificing our long-term goals for. And our best asset that we have is our team. So let's not actively destroy the team, because then our long-term ambitions can't be fulfilled. That's a very business way to put it.
The team is a stable of racehorses. We don't want them to. We don't want to run them until their knees pop, and then we have to put them down with shotguns. We don't want any of that kind of stuff.
It reminds me of the episode in Family Guy about the horse and the Peter. But what could you say? Your team, you're like, you said you like 20 or 21.
25 or so. We just added people to the team. I'm sorry, I should know how many people are in the team. It's 20. It's 25, I think, currently.
Yeah.
So, and you say that you actually check on like the health and the mental illness, like on the people, how they feel on the work. In your company, does it affect if someone, like, you see that he maybe go a little bit, I don't know, sad or shy or yeah, well, just sad, that you could speak with him or give him some day off to him be more progressive? Is there some things like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. We're very much constantly trying to monitor this. And if someone needs some time off for personal reasons, it's not a problem. We can plan around it.
Okay.
We do other things. We offer massages once a week for the team as well.
Not from ourselves, by the way, from a professional.
Yes. And team health is really, really important. And no, we're very proactive with this stuff. And if someone's having some problems, we do whatever we can. We have full insurance, don't we? Health insurance for the company.
Yeah,
we pay for a lot of these things and stuff.
We take good care of it. We try and make sure that we, like I said, we keep an eye on people. We talk to people as regular. I mean, we try and talk to people on a daily basis. And we check. I mean, it's a bit harder with this Corona times because most of the team up until quite recently have been working remotely, and that's like with everybody. And of course, it makes some people feel a little bit more unhappy or a bit lonely because they're not getting that daily contact. And they're just staying at their home. And at the start of the Corona, everybody was literally isolated in their houses. You know, they couldn't go out officially. So that's had a bit of a negative effect on people's mental health. But we've been very careful. We actually increased the amount of meetings we had, not like pointless meetings, but just like sync meetings, just so everybody got to check in with each other.
Okay. But if we go back to the development of the game, and like, what could you say was maybe it's actually a question more for you, Lee, about what was like the more biggest fails on game design that you made while developing the game? Well, maybe you know something from narrative history or something from the programming or game design, some from like 3 of those sections.
Okay, from a narrative point of view, I think the biggest fail was that the original drafts of the story were done way too early, so before any of the game had been built, and it was far too complicated. Because you go through the script, and it was a good script. It had a lot of good stuff in there, but it was extremely complicated. It would have required lots of complicated cutscenes, lots of characters, and that's something to be aware of because every character might cost, I don't know the exact numbers, $50,000. So every time you add a new character to the game, it's a big expense, and then all these cutscenes, and then the sheer amount of dialogue was way too much, and it was just. We rolled with that script for a while, and it dawned on us. It became more and more apparent that this is completely out of scope for our team size and for our budget and for our timeline. We simply can't do this. It's not possible. So the script had to be thrown away, basically.
Oh.
And I wrote a new one on the train on the way home. And then we hired John, our writer, who came and joined the team and basically took what I wrote and rolled with it. And he has a lot of experience writing scripts for games. So we need it a lot simpler, John, and we need it with this amount of characters, and it needs to be extremely focused on what we're trying to accomplish, but without breaking the budgets.
Yeah.
And he went off and did that.
John's
So that was a big problem that we made. We wrote a story that was just way too complex for the team to handle, because it looks good on paper when you're reading it, but you need to sit and break it down, and it's like, oh shit, we're gonna need. Sorry, I shouldn't swear, should I? Yeah.
That's
we're
okay.
Gonna need,
That's okay.
We're gonna need 50 cutscenes. Each cutscene costs $60,000. We're gonna need X amount of characters. We're gonna need 1 million hours of voice acting, and that costs this much. And we didn't do that step. We didn't break down the script and figure out what was it going to take to make this happen, and that was a huge error on our part, which cost us dearly, because it was very expensive and very scary to fix that. That's from the narrative point of view. So yeah, keep your story simple and add on to it, I think, is the learning here. Start simple and grow it with the game. Don't start with something super complex and overblown.
Okay.
What about the mechanics as well, Lee? Like we talked about things like the sanity system, right?
Oh yeah, we had this thing at one time where the game was being pulled in 2 different directions. One of them was like a classical XCOM style game where you would build your base up. In this case, the Ark. We had it all working where you would upgrade the buildings and you would add new buildings to it, all that classical kind of stuff. And you could actually recruit new characters in there, and then people would die in permadeath. It was almost like a classical XCOM game. And then they had the other side of the coin, which was this going on an adventure feeling, which is what the original RPG was all about, the original turn-based books. You making a party, going off on an adventure, and almost like a very light RPG. These 2 things were completely at odds with each other. And in between this, we had this problem of, or we thought we had a problem of, if people are enjoying the adventure side too much, they just want to keep doing that, and they'll never go back to the Ark and indulge in the base building stuff. So we introduced this sanity feature where at certain points, after certain things have happened, your crew would start going mad and start randomly throwing grenades at each other and running off and things like that, with the intention of forcing the player to have to go back to the Ark to recoup and clear your sanity. And this was horrible. The game felt terrible with this in, because your players were going off into the zone, they're going off on an adventure, but then their adventure was constantly getting artificially cut short. They were being forced to return to do this other stuff that they didn't want to do before they could go back out adventuring. And I took a long, hard look at the game. And this is when, as a designer or director, you've got to have a lot of courage, because there's people on the team who are sitting in both camps over, oh, I want it to be more base building. Oh, I want it to be more like this. And I took my big red pen and I just went, the base building's gone. X. And the sanity thing, this artificial mechanic that we've got to force you to interact with this feature, is also gone. We're going to focus on the going in the zone and exploring and having an adventure.
Okay.
And then, so this 2 sides of the coin that was constantly fighting each other over who should have dominance in the game, I just cut half of it away. And then focused the team on, let's deliver this adventure, this feeling of going on an adventure instead.
Lee,
and that was painful.
Could you try to stabilize your camera, because
you're out of focus a little bit, Lee.
Yeah, focus.
Yeah, a bit blurry.
Sorry.
I don't know what's happening.
It's this desk is wobbly.
A wobbly, unstable table. But
anyway.
Yeah.
when we the sanity thing, I mean, when we removed that, we also looked at a lot of other things that other games were doing that weren't fun. The base building thing, we decided against it because you need to be either all in or not at all with base building. We didn't want to make a base building thing which was meaningless. It had to have some thought behind it, or a lot of options, right?
Yeah, and you can't really do this going off on this adventure where you're going deeper and deeper into the woods kind of feeling, and then you're being constantly forced back to build a new boiler room or something. It didn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for the characters in their narrative neither. It's like they're going off to try and save the town. So the whole story was based around you going off to find someone and then do something else. A classical adventure where you're driven to save the ark and eventually learn your origins of where you come from. It feels a bit odd if you're going off to save the ark, but at the same time you're helping to rebuild it and make it bigger and better. So from a narrative perspective, it was completely at odds as well and didn't really work.
Actually, we got a question in chat.
Yeah.
Where did the idea come from to add a real-time movement mode to the turn-based tactics? Who came up with this?
I actually don't know.
It was like in the prototype, wasn't it, that David showed you?
Yeah, David had it in the original founder in the prototype, but that was more, you went to an area, then you just pressed X and then combat would begin. And then I worked with him on getting the stealth element in instead. So you do a more, it was organic. We started out with a very simple, we want to explore in real time because it sucks, because we did try exploring in tactical and that sucked. Just because it sucked just going around on a grid. Trying to explore
having to move like long distances on the grid is a bad idea.
So then we cut that and just said, okay, let's do that in real time instead. So then we're walking around in real time and say, how do we handle the fights? So it used to be that you would go into the area and then you just press X and the fight would begin. There was no stealth. And that worked, but it felt dry. It felt disconnected. So we're like, okay, let's add a bit of stealth. Let's see what happens if we do that. So it was a very organic process of starting with one thing and trying to accomplish this goal of exploration. Failed in a couple of times, and eventually just prototyping our way to where we ended up.
Okay. Then actually I have a question regarding the story of the game, and why didn't you release more DLC?
I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't know how much I'm allowed to go into detail-wise, but it didn't make sense for us.
I mean, it's a number of factors involved for these things. We are a business, and we have to pay people's wages, and we have to do what's in the best interest for the company. And sometimes not all of the planets align. So sometimes a strategic decision is made to make DLC. Sometimes a decision is made that it doesn't make sense.
I mean, the thing is, we were such a small team. I mean, Mutant was made by like 15 people, I think it was. Actually, maybe less than that. And we shipped Mutant, then we shipped the Stalker Trials, and then we shipped the Seed of Evil, I think it was. But we're always on this shoestring kind of feeling with the budgets and stuff. And I would love to have done more DLC. I would love to have done more Mutant.
You're just giving hope now for players, so be careful.
No. I mean, the reality is, when you ship a game like Mutant, your studio gets noticed. And some opportunities came our way, which were very difficult for us to turn down.
We got asked to work on a lot of collaborations, which we turned down.
So that's the short answer that I'm allowed to say. Some opportunities came along that were too good to refuse.
Okay, but I think a lot of players felt that the story is not completed at all.
No, it's not. But then again, we were following the basic outline of the story is straight from the book, and it wasn't completed in the book either. I think they had tons of add-on books afterwards.
So much
the book is,
materials for DLC.
yeah, the book is basically making DLCs. Each sequel or each version of the book that comes out has DLC of the book, basically.
Actually, we did and we did put into the main game some hints at the end, if I remember, of what was it? That there was a bigger world out there and stuff. We did do something, but we never capitalized on it. We never ran with a sequel and stuff because let's just say some business things happened.
I mean, there's a big shadow you'll see flying over. Sometimes you see it flying over. We don't really explain what it is, and that's one of the groups. And I think it's the group that the Elder has flown off to. Actually, it's one of their ships or stations.
Yeah,
but we don't explain it.
Okay. What could you tell people regarding the continuum of your work now, and if it could happen that sometime, somewhere, the Mutant Year Zero 2 will have like a chance to be released? I mean, like, I'm not thinking like now or a year or two, maybe like 5 years from now on.
Oh, it could always happen. I'm never going to say never. It's just not just yet. It's a difficult question to get yourself out of because I don't want to spill any truths.
Okay, let's get it this straight. If you like getting a chance to make a second part of the game, will you have the lust and the will to make it?
Yes.
So you have still an interesting of like to do the second part on your own basis, like not speaking for the company, but like speaking for yourself.
Yeah, I love Barman and Ducks. These are, you got to remember, Barman and Ducks, they're not from the IP. These are characters that we created ourselves internally, and that was fun. It was fun creating these characters and going through their journey and watching their personality change from being, their personality changed radically throughout development to what is in the shipped product. And and it's almost like they're our children,
Oh, I don't know if my children gonna look like that. But Barman and Ducks, they did one thing that really helped with the Mutant IP, because the Mutant IP wasn't really known much out of Sweden. Some of the books have been translated into English and sold and started to get a bit of popularity. But everybody knows the pig and the duck game. Poor Selma, she's kind of, but Barman and Ducks, everybody knows them. So people say, oh, the pig and the duck game. Yeah, we know this because we saw the trailer. And that trailer, which I think that's a sort of still that's behind Lee, was really integral into getting people to hear about the game. The characters,
all the characters were our creation. And
who did came up with the names?
Maybe it was Funcom for Borman, Ducks, maybe us. I can't remember.
I think it was John, actually.
Was it John?
Yeah. John came up with Barman and Ducks. Selma was an accident. Because it was a placeholder name on the character. And it kind of just stuck.
But whose idea was like to set the classes as they are right now? That the Ducks go with the crossbow and the sniper, and the Morbin go with like the shotgun and the assault rifle.
Oh, that's me. Yeah. Because we try to give them classes that fit their personalities.
Okay, but I was thinking more of like of the body perspective. Like the Mormon, like he's the heavy guy one, so he like miniguns, shotguns, flamethrowers, grenade launchers.
Well, it was the other way around. I mean, Callie, our technical and character artist, he designed the characters and helped build them. And then we looked at the characters and went, "You're Barman. He looks like he should have a shotgun and be more of a beefy guy, and Ducks looks a bit more like he's a sneaky one." So it wasn't like they were designed for a specific type of gameplay. The characters were designed, and then the gameplay was adjusted to fit them afterwards.
Okay.
Build cool characters first, then figure out your gameplay afterwards.
We We had character artists working with us on Mutant that we didn't want to lose, so we actually hired him before we started a new project, so he could help with the characters on that.
Okay.
It's very important to us to make interesting characters because you're going to be looking at them all the time as you play the game. You don't want some dull, boring, bland character. You want something that has a bit of life. And also, one of the important things when we talked about the writing and the voice acting for those characters was John said, one of the things I always remember, I quote him a lot on, was I would like to be able to understand who is speaking by the written line, by just reading it and knowing.
Oh, okay, so you're getting the feeling.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, John's got a lot of experience. He used to be a senior writer at Rockstar. He wrote on Max Payne games, Red Dead, I'm not saying Hitman, Grand Theft Auto, it says GTA. So he's got a lot of game dialogue experience.
Which is awesome, because going back to that original problem I told you, is like, you can write an awesome story, but can you actually produce it with the tools that you have in your game? And he's very aware of that, and he's really good at knowing what the capabilities are and what they aren't.
But okay, if we move forward now, you have been working in the game industry itself for quite a long time now. So I think like both of you have experience like of 20 years plus. And for the past how many, like 4 years you have been like in this indie turn-based strategy? From the games that you have seen, like XCOM, Phoenix Point, Gears Wars Tactics, and what do we have more? Like Warhammer 40k mechanics. You have tried our game. It's it's a solid beginning of the alpha, so we call it in our team. But I would like to hear your opinion for the viewers who haven't tried our game, but just so they can understand in what we're doing and like what do you feel while you played it, because you played the both versions of our game, because we upgrading it. You probably will get an next version in a couple of weeks, I hope so. So yeah, like what's your opinion from what you have seen, what you have tried, other turn-based game tactics, and
Well, I like the setting of your game. I like that you can have these rescue mission going on to different spaces and stuff. I really like that you could interact quite a lot with your escortees, giving them equipment and things like that. There was quite a deep system for doors. When you open them up, there's like a keypad and things. There was quite a lot of interactivity going on. I like that. That's something I like to see more of, actually.
Yeah, interactivity is great, and it's something which is more difficult than you'd think to design, because the permutations are infinite. What happens if I click on this door and I'm currently being aimed at by an enemy? What happens if I click on this door and I don't have the thing? What happens if this can go on forever? I think there's one thing that you've got going on that's interesting is your setting can be, you got a little bit more work to do there, but you're a rescue team going out and trying to rescue people could be super interesting. For me, it brings images of, I think if I was you guys, I would look at stuff like Event Horizon, which has a similar kind of premise where they are a rescue team, and we establish very early that these guys are, they've worked together a lot, but now there's a stranger on the crew and he's got some secrets, and that's fine. And then they go to, it's presented as a straightforward rescue job, but it's not, because it's a ship that's reappeared after disappearing for a long time. It's a huge spaceship and build lots of mystery, and eventually they have to rescue themselves at the end. That's the rescuers have to become the rescued, and that was super interesting. And I think you could do something similar with your title. You could tap into those same sort of feelings and same kind of
the atmosphere. Yes, absolutely. I think the atmosphere is good. It's really, I mean, it's very nice, and it feels very spooky in a good way. But But yeah, adding a bit more like mystery, because when we played the early build, you could kind of see into like the rooms beyond.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we need to hide those, so it feels like you don't know what's behind that door without, okay, there's 3 guys in there, let's think about it. You need to have a little bit more of that. I like that you could disarm the mines and you could pick them up and use them. That was cool. I also liked, I don't know if it's, I played quite a lot of tactical games, but I like the way that the tactical, the AP, the action points were spread. So if you didn't even move your character, you can take a second shot, for example, that kind of stuff, if I remember right. It was nice.
Those sort of systems are nice to play around with in these games. This like, of course, you need to balance that with tightness, so it just doesn't feel like you can do everything all the time.
Yeah.
Because then there's no tactical decisions to make. But I think you're really treading the line there quite nicely with that balance over.
Because you have seen now the version we have, like we haven't even like created the main characters of the game, because right now we have like only units in like space marine uniform or like in space like hospital battle uniform, if we call it like that. Because we have, I think, how many do we have? Like 1, 2. I know about like 4. It's a minimum what we have in the description of the crew that will be playable. And there will be other characters that will be joining the crew itself. So I hope that you will try the game when we have first implemented the design of the like characters in playable build that we are doing.
Yeah.
Because Lee, you can see it from the game design perspective and give some advice. Where should we move? Like, should we create something like that? Because yes, Mark, I remember that you told that we need that fog of war, or how do you call it correctly?
Yeah, well, or just ceilings of war.
Yeah.
That just so you can't see. I mean, because you're so your game relies quite a lot on that feeling of like the super unknown. What's beyond the next room, and I think there's a balance also to make it non-frustrating, because you don't want to walk in and get killed. I remember in games like Baldur's Gate, the old original Baldur's Gate, I'd walk around a corner and some bloody wizard would nuke me and then I would die. And I was like saving after every battle because I was like, I'm so, PTSD after this, right? So you've got to find balance of that being frustrating, but you also need to keep that mystery so the players like make a really informed decision. Should I go, not as bad as Dark Souls or something, but I've got to go through, or Demon Souls, through that door, or do I go through that door? What shall I do? Maybe there's a scanner that can let you see some heat signatures, or you know what I mean, these kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we are working a lot right now on the design of this level itself, because I remember when we talked that you would like to see more small details on the level, like if you see a door and when you keypad, that you would like to see some hand of a dead body, like reaching it to make something right, or holding a card or something like that. And well, actually, it's all transferred to the team, and there's a lot of work going on. Because right now, as I told you, that we're working on focusing fire, so it's not like you shooting, I don't know, some can of beans.
Yeah.
So it's like more focused, more straight to the target. So it feels like that you are actually like hitting it, not like you're blowing the bubbles.
There was a big jump of quality from the first build you sent and the second build. It was very, very good progress.
But like, if you both could give it like a name of, is it early stage, like, or it's alpha? What could you like call it more, in your opinion?
What do you mean?
Like, the games have like early access, or the alpha versions, or like the beta. Like, what could you tell about our build right now? What do you feel it matches best?
I would say you're on your way to a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Personally. No, I mean even the when you look at like the successful early access titles that are hitting Steam, the bar is still quite high. There's still like a complete experience there.
Mhm.
There's still a complete game there.
You do
so
some things. You do some things really well. You got a good start to the tutorial. Yeah, and one thing I found fun, even though it's not really a fun mechanic, is just going in and looking at the help screen. You actually had a nice help screen that had all the controls listed. That's something we never did on our games. We just had the options screen. But that's actually something like, hey, maybe we should do that in our next game.
yeah, we annoy the piss out of our publishers with that, where we just send them builds and say, get on with it. We need a tutorial. No, you don't.
Actually, about the tutorial,
It's something we're terrible at.
the last tutorial you saw in this like the blue room with holographic things.
Oh yeah, like a Metal Gear Solid VR sessions. Do you remember those things?
Yes.
Yeah, that kind.
I mean, like we will change that actually to be more like a level, so you get introduction to the game directly with not like a VR room, but like with the full level and gameplay. So like you're gonna need to do that, you're gonna need to do that, and it's like this is your tutorial. Now you completed. Or
That's the most elegant way.
Yeah, and some games are usually or not usually, but sometimes I saw the things when you starting the game when you like fully maxed level and stuff like that, but then you die, and then begins your tutorial.
I think it was, what game did I play? Was it Prototype? On the PS3,
some game when you like starting
I think.
full max, and then you get just like die, and you like starting the tutorial. And I was like, okay, or things like that. But yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say there was a game I worked on. I worked on the first Kane Lynch game. I was QA on that. And that did a really interesting thing with the tutorial where they had the very, very first part of the game. You've broken out of a van and you're just walking along. You can just barely just walk. Your character's injured and there's all this gunfighting going on. And then after the end of that level, you get a proper tutorial showing you, not like an old school, but still done in the form of like you preparing for a heist, because that's what you're actually doing at that point. And it was really well done that it just threw you into the game a little bit and you just got your feet kind of into the game, but you weren't expected to do this, look up for this, look down for this, you know. It was more like just finding your own way around, and not explained to you. And that's the secret to make a tutorial that feels interesting and not just, oh my god, I got to sit and go press this to jump, press this to duck. Have I done it all so I can just skip it, you know? And setting it up in your level is a really good way of doing it. As long as it feels, if it doesn't feel like it's a tutorial, but it is a tutorial, then you've won.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we're struggling with as well. Tutorials are incredibly difficult to do. They're incredibly easy to do a bad one, where you bore the pants off people. But to make a tutorial which is engaging and exciting in its own sense, very, very few examples of that in the game industry, I would say.
I'm going to dip poor old Jakob Mikkelsen in from IO and say that throwing that coin in blood money. I always.
It's never left the last of that.
Coin. I want to put the coin. Names are for friends.
Lee, your camera is a little bit blurry again.
Yeah,
it's just cheap camera that Mark bought me.
Camera. I paid premium money for that camera.
It's still blurry.
I don't know why. I'll be the mystery man in the corner. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Then actually, well, we can actually round off here because we were speaking for about half an hour or so. Yeah, 70 minutes for now. Actually, then I would like to thank both of you to attend here. It took me around 5 months to organize this stream because when first I messaged, I think all of your LinkedIn, and I used all of my premium LinkedIn there. Then I've tried to message all Facebook that I saw, And yeah, I sent even 2 emails on your official email where you can like press or something like that.
Yeah, it's we to be honest, we're very, very, very bad with our social media, very bad. And
Well, we
LinkedIn,
don't have
I
any
barely ever looked at LinkedIn. It's like there's all these people bugging me about stuff I don't care about, and I'm sorry that I just didn't see it. But I did reply eventually, Alex, and we organised this finally.
The fun part that I get like an answer from the social media that I didn't like wait at all. Facebook. Like I created a Facebook account in 2009. like and like Mark, you answering that, I was like, an unread mess on Facebook Messenger. I was like, who the hell is that? I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's because, like, I'll be honest, this is the secret. I'll tell you the secret. When I got to post something on Facebook, I opened up the messenger and it's opening up this can of wasps. It's like, bzzz, when's corruption coming to console? Bzzz, can you do the Turkish localization on this game? Bzzz. And I'm like, then I've got to like swat all these wasps by sending in a message. I can't open the messages because you guys can see when I've read the messages. So it's super douchey. Read the message and then ignore. That's just a dick move. So I have to reply. So I make sure I sit down on like a comfy seat and spend a little bit of time. And I make an effort to reply to everybody. I will do, but it takes a bit longer. But I like to make an effort to reply to everybody so we don't miss anybody. I wouldn't want to do that. But the frequency of checking it because we're so busy is very infrequent, unfortunately. I'm afraid. I'm sorry about that.
We unfortunately don't have a dedicated PR person or social media person, or it's we should probably hire one at some point.
Yeah, send your applications to our Facebook page. I'll check it in 6 months.
Oh, that's harsh. That's harsh. Because after I replied on your Facebook, you answered me 2 weeks later. I was like, ah, shit.
Yeah, I'm sorry
that's
about
pretty
that.
good.
Like,
that's pretty good for us.
once we get somebody who can do this like full time, it'll be a bit more rapid. I mean, we're all very busy making the next game, and we're all very much up to our elbows or even up to our necks, I would say, in work. But we're sorry to everybody who messages us and gets a slow response. It's not because we don't appreciate people contacting. We're very happy that people are still thinking of us, even if we haven't released a game for a little while now.
Well, you're doing it now.
We will be. We hasn't been announced. We don't know the exact release date. We'll leave that to our publisher, who hasn't been announced.
Well, the thing is that most important thing that I think that you're working on a new game. The feeling of wait for something new from you is like this. What players right now can get. That they're like, yeah, we're working on something new, something big. And like, okay, fine, we can wait. We've been waiting for GTA 6 for like 10 years now.
And what did you get? GTA 5 for PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
there you go. Well done.
Update.
No, we are working on something new, and it is fairly big. And I'm excited to show it. I can't wait. But we have to hold back, and we have to wait until the timing is correct.
Strategic planning. That's when we have a publisher who basically pays for everything. We need to respect their planning and their tactical decision making. But if they ask for new mechanics, we have to take that with a big pinch of salt.
Yeah, I understand that. So then I would like to thank Higher School of Economics in Russia and Вячеслав Уточкин, кто предоставил нам, в принципе, пользоваться этим каналом для YouTube и Высшей школы экономики. So, I did the thank part in Russian. So, I think you can say some last word for the audience we have here. And it was a pleasure to have you here.
Yes, same here. And it's we don't do this often enough. We've talked about this a lot, Mark, that we should be more active in various communities.
Yeah.
just busy making games.
Inform all other press that it takes 6 months to get you somewhere.
Yes.
We will make an effort to try and be a bit more available for these things, because actually we enjoy it a lot. It's just finding the time to do it. And of course, the last couple of years, this stupid virus stuff's turned up and the world's been upside down, and we would have been to a few more game shows, not cash prize money winning game shows. I mean, like video game conferences and expositions and stuff. Unfortunately, being busy and not being able to travel has been a problem. But we're going to try and look into it in the near future, for sure.
Okay, so then everyone, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for new update when the new live show will come out. I hope not in 6 months again.
6 months, and it'll be us two again telling you about our new game. 6 months after it got released. I know it won't get released this month. Don't worry about it.
I will invite both of you when the game will be like announced that you're gonna talk on stream.
Yeah, you can put your background to our game. And then we'll, because I actually had some Romans set for my background. He made me change it. It was like, it's like I set this, like I chose this background. I'm just like, I thought this was a good background to have with the Romans. And he's like, could you find something a bit more Mutant Year Zero? And I was like, well, yeah, sure. But okay then. But Alex, yes, that's a deal. We'll chat with you. Obviously, we'll catch up before then.
Yes, sure. Then we can say goodbye to all the viewers, and thanks for watching.
Yep.
Thank you.